So basically what we're going to be looking at today is stream development. How do streams work? How do they change over time? What are some of the features that all streams have in common? And what are the effects of the landscape on streams? And also vice versa, what effect do streams have on the landscape? So those are something we're going to be looking at today. So the first thing I want you guys to do is take a look at these two images. I want you to take 2 minutes. Think quietly. Think to yourself. Take 2 minutes. And I want you to compare and contrast these two images, and we'll come back and talk about that. What'd you guys notice?
Well, the first picture is like a quiet river. It's not moving as much.
Okay, I agree with quiet. What do you mean by not moving as much?
Like there's not much wind that's pushing it to move.
It's not going as fast.
Maybe it appears to be slower. Okay, Maitland?
The picture on the left is a lot wider, and the one on the right is like narrower.
So a wide channel versus
And like,
narrow. Okay, this is definitely faster.
and like the ground on both sides.
Yeah.
And the first one seems flat, but that one
Okay.
they're caved in.
So flat terrain versus
No,
very
it's
steep.
jagged.
Okay, Krieger?
The one on the left, like you said, slower, you can tell that was slower because it's a lot wider and it's not as steep as the one on the right. But the one on the right, you can tell it's more or less faster just by the color change of the water.
Okay, say that again.
Like the color change of the water in the right picture
Yeah.
is more white just because it's stirring up the bubbles or whatever.
Okay, yeah, so you definitely have a lot more white caps here. All right, you got waterfalls. And this kind of goes with what we were talking about there, a rapid change in elevation. So I guess what we could kind of talk about that is, again, talking about the slope. That's a steep slope to the river versus a very shallow slope. And what else?
The one on the left has more of the light and vegetation, and the one on the right is barren and dry.
We have more vegetation. And over here we have barren slopes. What do you think the slopes are made out of? If you look at the banks here and here, what type of material do you think that's made out of? Sand and soil, loose soil, right? But if you look at these, what are these made out of?
We're all compact. So
Yeah, that's basically solid rock. Again, that makes. What type of terrain do you really think of? If you're looking at this, what would you think? Where would you find that? Mountains. Yeah, that's really important that we recognize that it would probably be
It looks like it's in like a
mountains. Yeah, definitely a valley. Okay. In fact, most valleys are actually carved by rivers. That's how we get valleys. Yep. Now, when we look over here on the left side, though, we definitely have flat terrain. Okay, we're very calm, very easygoing, flat terrain. We don't have any rapid change in our slope. But I think a couple of things you guys mentioned, really big concepts here. A wide river channel versus a narrow river channel. Anybody ever drank out of a hose before?
Yes, it was very gross.
Yeah, it doesn't taste too good. Okay, anybody ever used a hose without the little actual spray handle on? We get to get the water out and away. How do you do it?
Put pressure on it.
Put your finger on it. Why?
Because it
Not so much about the pressure. Yes, it goes with pressure, but it's not the reason. There's actually a much bigger reason behind it.
Because there's a little space for the water to
you have
Yeah.
more water going through it
get out.
It fills up faster, so it has to go out faster.
It's a concept of fluid dynamics. And this is like physics 101. We'll keep things really simple. We'll keep it conceptual. In fluid dynamics, you have to have an equal in and an equal out. So if you have a certain volume of water that's coming in, it has to equal the same amount of volume coming out. Correct? So I've got my hose, I'm just sitting there watering it, and right, the water's just simply going 2 inches out and it drops down on the ground, right? Put my thumb over it, and then I can actually get a pretty good distance with the hose, which is what the whole thing of those spring handles are anyway. We screw them on, right? The whole point is actually to constrict the space through which the water flows. That's it. Because with the hose, the width of your hose basically your water in. Okay, right? You get your water coming in, and whatever that width is, that's how much water can fit through there. Take the amount of water flowing through there at any given time. The water in has to equal the water out. So if you got a tiny little slot for that water to flow through, if we've got a big tube, that means you have to get the water out faster. So you got to get that same amount of water out in the same amount of time that's coming in. So which means that water coming out has to move much faster than the water going in. Does that make sense? Now, if I take that narrow river, again, equal in, equal out. I have a narrow channel for my river, and as soon as I widen that channel, what does it do? It slows down. Okay, equal in, equal out. Now that I've got a wider area, I don't have to be hurrying as fast to get everybody through. That makes sense? Okay. Remember we talked about flooding with the Army Corps of Engineers and making levees, especially in inner cities, where the river goes through the city? One of the worst things you can do is take it from a wide, winding channel to a straight and narrow channel. Because as you look here on the right, what happens when it's straight and narrow? Yeah, it goes a lot faster. We're going to talk about why that's a problem, because it works for cities. The problem is when the river leaves the city. That's when the problems start to occur. Exactly. Yep.
It's like a wire glass instead of blast off all that dirt.
Yes. Okay, so let's keep moving. I want to keep talking about this. Now, this same concept. What do you notice about the water clarity here versus the water clarity here? Which one do you think is actually clear?
It has a
Actually,
reflection.
it would be the right one because it's talking about the sediments. It doesn't have nearly so much.
It's interesting. I don't really know. One of the things I do want to talk about here is on the next image. And this is where, if you look at your map, you'll see the same things on your map. What can you tell me about here, here, and here? What are they?
Those are sand.
They're sand dunes. They're sandbanks. It's what we call point bar.
That's where the water's just backed up a lot of sand.
Wouldn't that slow it down?
Interesting. What did that slow it down?
Because it has to. It's
It's exactly. Sand absorbs.
Well, let's talk about this. Yesterday we talked about carrying capacity, right? We said that the faster the water is moving, the more it can carry, correct? And that's really important that you guys make that connection. The faster water is moving, the more it can erode.
So if it's going slow, it's not going to erode the sand because it doesn't have enough velocity to carry. Well, also
Let me ask you this. Hold on. There's two different perspectives to look at. Is it legal to say the loan because it's not moving fast enough to erode it? Or is the sand foreign material that has been deposited there? Could be both. These are actually what we call point bar depositions. They are deposits in the soil.
Is it because they slow down after that curve?
Yeah, this is where I wish I had a little bit more flexible classroom space. That's for us to take a break from our notes right now and go into a space where we can do this really doesn't work for us. All right, you guys ever played Break the Wind? You guys know what I'm talking about?
No.
It's so sad. Anyone ever play Kick the Can? Good. Okay, these guys are completed. All right. So, anyways, Break the Wind is very simple. You get like 6 or 7 people on a line, and everybody holds hands. Yay, we're friends. Okay. And you all run as fast as you can, straight forward. And then one of the 2 people on the ends plants their feet. Has ever done that before? Okay. What happens? Yeah, so let's say I'm on the end, and everybody else is going out there, right? I plant my feet. What does everybody do now? They don't stop. They start running. But as I plant my feet, we start rotating. The whole line rotates with me. As I'm planting my feet, I become the anchor. Now that entire line of people start flowing around me. You ever been the person on the end? Has there done it before? Really? You should try that. Get 4 or 5 of your friends together and go do that. It's really kind of cool. If you're the person on the end, that's why they call it breaking the wind or whipping the wind. The person on the end literally is given so much velocity that your hand.
Are you talking about when people
Yeah.
in the street? Oh.
Okay. And then that person on the end just literally gets thrown off because it's so much velocity and centripetal force playing into this that person literally just gets thrown out into space. It's kind of cool. It's the same concept that we're talking about here. See, another thing about fluid dynamics, a fluid is like anything liquid or liquidy, okay? In fluid dynamics, Brittany, all those people in that line have to stay in line together. They can somewhat bend and kind of go like this, but for the most part, they are going to stay in a straight line together. So if they start in a line, they're going to end in the same line.